Today, I want to give you a behind-the-scenes tour of the most special and treasured paintings that I have made. This video is going to include highlights of what has helped me to reach the goals that I have reached in my own painting practice, as well as what sets me up for success in a given painting. And if you simply are an art collector and you love hearing the stories behind paintings, this video is for you. And if you have a stack of paintings like these in your own studio, I want you to really pay attention to these stories. Being able to tell stories about our work is what helps to connect us with collectors. It is what helps get people excited about our work. And ultimately, feeling a personal connection to the work is what encourages people to bring your work into their home. So I would really encourage you to take these stories to heart and think about for your own work what these stories look like for you. So let's jump in to some of my favorite paintings. So first up, I want to start with this particular piece. This is one of the more recent pieces I have made on my YouTube channel. And man, I just really enjoyed the full process of making this. It really pushed me in interesting ways. I was super pleased with the result. I really love the nuance in terms of the color that I was able to achieve on this. And it was just overall a ton of fun. This one was inspired by a Sargent Master copy, which I actually have over here, and you can check out both of these videos on my YouTube channel. And both of these pieces are available, and whoever winds up snagging them, I am really excited for you because both of these pieces were just really a tremendous joy to paint. Next up, I have this portrait that I filmed my creation process of for Proko's YouTube channel. This was another really big deal painting, and honestly I am surprised that I still have it. But this was also just a piece that I was really proud of, and I enjoyed the process of making it. The level of finish on the face and just the control of the values really speaks to me. And then as I move up to the hands, I think just like the simplicity of the way that I was able to handle those, I was really proud of this work, and I really enjoy getting to look at this particular piece whenever I walk into the studio. All right, up next, I have a piece that is a little bit different. So this piece is the horse that belongs to one of my really great friends out at the barn. His name is Upular. We call him Ubi. And for this painting, I call him Big Red. He is just a really tremendous animal. Like, he is a go to the Olympics kind of horse. And this painting just wound up coming out, honestly, effortlessly. The whole process, it really didn't have resistance as a part of it. I love the simplicity of the mane and like the expressive brushwork in there. And yeah, overall, this piece, like the other equestrian pieces I have, makes me really happy. And I know that's going to be true for the horse lover who ends up taking this home. Now, for this painting, let's keep talking about horses. So there's a lot that I enjoyed about making this piece, but I am especially drawn to all of the color that I was able to capture, especially in the face of the horse that's off to the right here. I love the way we transition between this nice, warm, diluted down transparent oxide brown that reads as red on here next to the blue of the brow of the horse. And we have a kind of similar relationship between the colors as we move into the muzzle. And the horse that I was depicting on the right is actually some kind of paint horse or horse with a spotted coat. And so the kind of unfinished looking bit off to the right was actually intentional because that is how this particular horse looks. I'm really glad that I was able to capture this on a larger canvas. This one's about 12 by 16. And yeah, I'm just honestly really pleased with how this came out. And I'm glad that I was able to manage that at a larger size so that a piece that I'm really happy with can just like take up that extra amount of space and be a little bit more eye-catching. Now here is a piece from the 2021 Strata 30-day challenge in January. So for this piece, I actually got a few silk flowers and I set them up in my studio. I actually had my like gray glass palette sitting beneath the flowers, which gives that little bit of reflection underneath. And I was really pleasantly surprised with this painting. It was a really enjoyable one to make. I really was pleased with like the grouping of this shape of leaves and just the overall arrangement of these flowers, and how I was able to paint it in a way that overall just felt genuinely loose. This is probably like my top 2 floral paintings that I have ever made. If you're curious, the other top floral painting is a really big piece that is currently in my mom's living room. That was a piece specially made for her. And speaking of the Strata 30-day challenge, this particular piece was the painting I made for day 1. I wanted to do something equestrian themed, but that had the feeling of some of my favorite Daniel Keyes paintings. As you might know, Daniel is definitely a floral painter first and foremost, but some of my favorite paintings of his are pieces that really capture someone's personality through the objects that they keep. So it could be like a still life that has a children's book and then a smattering of crayons, or perhaps a jar full of spools of thread and other sewing implements scattered throughout the composition. I wanted to do something similar, and so I took, this is actually a like faux rug pillowcase I got from Pottery Barn, and then I have stirrup leathers and stirrup irons, and I really painstakingly arranged these to kind of swirl throughout the composition. This was a very taxing painting to make, but I was and continue to be just like really, really proud of this effort, particularly because still life is not necessarily the first thing that I'm inclined to feel comfortable with. And just the level of care and realism in this little 6x8 painting, I'm super proud of. Okay, so now let's talk about a little bit of an unusual painting. So this piece I made well before I started my YouTube channel, so I don't have the process of making it on film anywhere, but this one was actually very much inspired by the technique and process of Vanessa Lemon. She is a really accomplished illustrator, and she makes these really beautiful pieces that are done entirely from imagination, where you start with kind of abstract mark making and then you find the portrait or the image within the random marks. And that's what this piece was. I had experimented with a similar technique using alcohol and water-based inks combined. And this was the only one that I did in oil using that particular approach. And it continues to be a piece that really speaks to me, and I think it has like a mood and almost this sort of dreamlike narrative quality that, you know, I don't have in the pieces that are maybe based more off of photo reference. So I think this is a really special piece, and I've enjoyed having it as long as I have, and I'm excited to hear the story that somebody has whenever they take this piece home, whenever this piece moves somebody enough that they want to have it. I'm really eager to hear what story they see in this particular painting. All right, next let's talk about a couple portraits I made while at East Oak Studios from their Painting from Life sessions. So both of the pieces I'm about to show you are definitely breakthrough pieces. This one is done of a model that we had named Madeline. I really was surprised at the level of looseness that I was able to capture while still really, you know, getting her essence down onto the canvas here. I'm really drawn to just how efficient all of the marks are and how nothing feels overworked or overexplained. And here is one of the more recent Painting from Life sessions. This one looks very blue on camera, but this was a really exciting painting for me to make because it was one where I feel like I really dialed in the nuances of color for the model that we had. And even like talking with Alex Venezia afterward, he commented that this painting seemed like a real breakthrough for me. And that compliment I am not going to forget. And up toward the top of my room as the third piece of this same type, this is of the model Sable, and yeah, this was just yet another piece where the level of looseness and the way in which I managed to play with color just really excited me. I'll give you a little close up here so you can see some of the paint texture, but I just love how loose and almost messy this painting looks like up close, and then as you back up it really does come together, and I think that likeness was captured in a way that honestly surprised me and I really enjoy. Now let's talk about this still life. So this was a painting I made at a Daniel Keyes workshop. I believe it was the most recent workshop of his I attended back maybe in 2020, just before lockdown. And you know what's interesting is that I painted 2 pieces from this workshop. The other has already sold, but the longer I sit with this piece, the more it becomes my favorite. I really enjoy the simplicity of the brush marks of the leaves of these tulips, and then I especially like the way in which the color and value shifts for the hyacinth that is in the back. Just like a really successful painting, especially in terms of being able to get more comfortable with still life. I'm super proud of this one. And speaking of workshops, this was one of the first pieces that I did at a workshop with Carolyn Anderson this past year. This was a really exciting workshop because I had tried quite a bit to understand Carolyn's technique and how she's able to accomplish so much with her work. And being able to talk things through and see it in person really made a big difference for me. It demystified a lot of the process, and this was the piece that I think really stands out above the rest in terms of showcasing a lot of the looseness that she captured. Now I want to switch gears and talk about some pieces that I made specifically for YouTube. So these were pieces that were all portraits. Portraits are definitely my go-to activity if I am not quite sure what I would enjoy painting, and I am really glad that that is how I tackle that problem, because this painting in particular, I just am really drawn to the peachy skin tones throughout this piece. This had actually been hiding in a stack of paintings, and I recently was just digging through and kind of sorting back through all those paintings and found this and was able to put it on my wall. And I'm really, really glad because it just has really beautiful color. I'm really proud of my decisions with regard to the background and how I unified the background color with her complexion, her skin and hair color. This piece has a really similar quality to it as well. I really appreciate my decision to really make the eye area a little bit higher key, a little bit more red versus dark brown. And it achieves a really similar quality in terms of the color harmony that I really enjoy. I especially like the little touch of like mousy brown right at the top of the hair. Now I want to talk a little bit about equestrian paintings. So this is the one piece that I have on my wall right now that is spoken for. It is awaiting framing for a client. And this client I have a really just wonderful relationship with. So this is a painting of my horse, but I swear this client and I, we are horse twins. We have ridden several horses, each totally independently, that just look entirely like one another. So this painting is of the horse that I ride, Leo, and it looks like the spitting image of her horse, Pillsbury. And so I'm really enjoying having some personal time with this piece before the frame arrives and it goes off to her home. And that is just one of several equestrian paintings that I have over in this section of my studio. Here I have a piece that I did just in my own time after the Carolyn Anderson workshop. So like after the instruction would end for the day, I would just hang out in our studio space and take some photo reference and go ahead and try and apply what I learned in the workshop with Carolyn. And then I came home and applied that same approach to this particular piece. This is from the Carolina Horse Park. This was one of the, I believe, advanced riders or advanced modified riders that was on course that day. And then I am continuing the horse theme up in this nice little nook of the studio. So this was yet another piece that I worked on after hours during the Carolyn Anderson workshop. This is two Haflinger ponies snuggling. I really appreciate the way in which I was able to simplify the background and just keep this a little higher key. I think the color palette in this one I'm particularly proud of. And then next is a piece that I actually workshopped with Carolyn during the workshop. This is off of one of Carolyn's references that she has painted similar pieces off of before. And I just was really drawn to the color palette of this. It was absolutely a challenge, but nonetheless a painting that taught me quite a lot. And then the final equestrian piece of this little section, I have one of my first attempts at painting in Carolyn's style. You can see the approach is a little bit different. It's a little bit more wet than some of the other pieces that I've made, trying to really incorporate what I've learned from Carolyn's work. But I really enjoy just all of the subtle variations of color on the horse in this particular piece. And then for one of the last equestrian pieces in the collection, this is a small 6x8 study that is inspired by the artist Kevin Balefus, who just has these beautiful, expressive sketches of horses among other animals. And this was off of a reference of a draft horse in the middle of having a spook, and I just really loved the energy that I wanted to capture it in sepia tone. I love just how much of this horse's personality and anatomy is captured with so little. And now let's go ahead and round out the portrait collection that I have over here in this part of the studio. And I want to begin this conversation with this particular piece. This is one of my most popular YouTube videos to date, talking about perfectionism, and I chose to talk about that topic with this particular piece because this was such an extreme level of looseness for me, especially at this time. I was able to really do quite a lot with fairly little, and this piece came together without a great deal of effort or struggle, which I think is a testament to really the topic of that particular video. It definitely has really vivid, expressive color throughout, and those who have been watching my channel for a while will recognize this particular model. I have painted her several times. She's local to me here in Raleigh, and I just have dozens of really beautiful reference photos of her, and they always come out just super beautifully when I go to paint them. Down in this corner of the space we have quite a few paintings. So the grisaille on the left, this is the black and white portrait, originally started as a demo for my students. Some of you might have seen me paint this on YouTube as well. Down in the corner I have two separate pieces from the East Oak Studios Painting from Life sessions. All of the East Oak Studios Painting from Life portraits are available on East Oak's website. They are currently having a studio sale for the holidays if you would like to check out these or any others from the Painting from Life sessions and the various artists who participate. Next up I have probably the most recent Carolyn Anderson inspired piece. This is also a fairly popular YouTube video outlining my whole start to finish process. This painting I had a vision for like right from the beginning, and I'd say I'm really pleased with just how seamlessly that whole process came together for this piece. This is the piece I painted for my video on how to bounce back from a bad painting, and that's very much what the circumstances were for this painting. I had just painted two pieces that absolutely failed, and I wanted to get a video out. I wanted something that I knew I would just enjoy making. And so that is what led to this particular piece, and I'm super grateful. I think we all remember those pieces that help us to bounce back after a difficult time, and that's very much what this piece was. I hope you have enjoyed this behind the scenes look inside my own studio and to really get a sense of what all of these pieces look like together, both visually and when you fit all of these stories together into their very own mosaic. In the comments, I would love to hear any questions you have about these stories or how these paintings were made. And if you have a favorite story about one of your own pieces, I would love to hear about that too. And until next time, happy painting.